Microsoft Excel doesn't just store data. It also assists with calculations, a fundamental component of Excel and data analysis. So it's important that your calculations are correct and reliable. In this video, you'll learn how Excel processes calculations, discover how to construct the syntax for calculations, and edit your syntax to avoid errors. Jamie at AdventureWorks is working on a purchase sheet. It has been updated to include information on new orders placed with suppliers. She now needs to create calculations that correctly display the difference between purchasing costs and sales amounts. The formulas she creates will contain a mixture of multiplication and subtraction, and she needs to be confident that those operations are happening in the correct sequence. Let's take a few minutes to explore how these formulas work, beginning with operators. The symbols that are used to indicate mathematical actions in Excel are known as operators. Operators are used for actions like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. For example, you can use operators to add the values of two cells together or divide the value of one cell by another. When working through a formula, Excel does not always calculate the expressions or steps in a formula from left to right. Excel handles the operators in a calculation according to a key mathematical principle called the order of precedence. The order of precedence assigns greater importance to some of the mathematical symbols over others. This means that Excel calculates formulas according to the hierarchical position of each symbol within the order of precedence. Don't worry if you don't fully understand what the order of precedence is. This is covered in a later reading. In terms of importance, Excel tries to process division and multiplication symbols before addition and subtraction. However, you can control how Excel executes calculations by using parentheses in your formulas. This is a key technique in creating formulas that generate reliable results. Parentheses instruct Excel as to which part of a calculation must be executed first, even if this would contradict the order of precedence. Let's explore the use of parentheses in formulas. You want Excel to add the numbers 2 and 3 together and then multiply the subtotal result by 4. So you type this formula as equals sign 2 plus 3 multiplied by 4. However, Excel will not process this calculation left to right. Instead, Excel will first multiply 3 by 4, which gives a result of 12. It will then add 2, giving a formula result of 14. This is because the multiplication symbol has a higher priority in the order of precedence. Adding parentheses to the calculation allows you to instruct Excel to do this bit first. So you could rewrite your calculation by placing part of the formula, in this instance 2 plus 3, in parentheses. Now you've directed Excel to add 2 and 3 as its first step, and then multiply the result of that addition by 4. The result of this calculation would be 20 and not 14 as it was previously. It is important to have a clear understanding of where to put parentheses in a calculation. Placing parentheses in the wrong position in a formula, or not including them at all, could change how Excel understands and implements the calculation. An incorrect calculation result may not always be obvious, as it may seem plausible. There are also times when you may need to reproduce cell entries and formulas within a worksheet. When a formula is copied, it is important to consider the appearance of the cell references. There are two ways a cell reference can appear in a calculation. These are relative and absolute. A relative cell reference means that if you copy a formula to a new cell, Excel will adjust the row numbers or the column initials in the cell references to update the formula relative to its new location. This ensures that the formula is correct for the row or column it has been copied to. For example, the formula in K3, which reads equals sign I3 multiplied by J3, is copied down using the autofill feature. Excel adjusts the cell references for each row. But what if a cell reference needs to say the same when the formula is copied elsewhere? For this to happen, you must make the cell reference into an absolute reference. When Excel copies a formula, it keeps absolute references constant and does not adjust them. For example, if the formula in L3 is copied down through the column, then the reference for the cell that contains the exchange rate needs to say the same. When the formula in L3 is copied down, the K3 reference in the formula will adjust to include a different row number. However, the N2 reference in the formula should not change since the exchange rate is only mentioned in that one cell. To make a cell reference absolute, Add a $sign before the column initial and before the row number. This instructs Excel to keep the cell reference constant during the copy operation. This means that all copies of the formulas will contain the original cell reference. Don't worry if you find these concepts difficult to follow. You'll explore how to control calculations in more detail in a later video. There are also additional resources available at the end of the lesson. Excel will also recalculate and update all formula results when a file is opened. Files that contain a lot of complex calculations will be slower to open fully on screen than ones that only contain data. Fortunately, you can turn the automatic recalculation feature off. Just remember to switch it on when you are done working with the file. To change the recalculation mode, select the Calculation Options drop-down on the Formulas ribbon. Then on the drop-down, select the recalculation mode you need for your file. Well done. You now know how to control how Excel works through the steps in a formula. You are also able to identify the correct syntax to use if calculations are going to be copied elsewhere in the spreadsheet. Great work.